Hey, I'm John Johnson, and I'm one of the team members that went to Scammon Bay.
Hey, I'm Ben Sturspaw, and I was one of the people that went on the Scammon Bay mission trip.
Hey, my name's Dustin, and I'm one of the team members that went to Scammon Bay.
All right, hey, I'm Sean Nicely, part of the team that went to Scammon Bay.
Hey, my name is TJ. I was one of the team members that went to Alaska and Scammon Bay.
All right, my name is Kenny Ripien, and I'm one of the team members that went on the mission trip to Scammon Bay, Alaska.
I'm Zed Bradley. I was one of the team members of 8 that visited Scammon Bay, Alaska.
Hello, my name's Daniel Curran, and I went to Scammon Bay, Alaska with Samaritan's Purse to build a church.
When you first see the houses, I mean, they were colorful because the way they were painted in different colors, but they were most of them were just plywood, just what you would say is like a hunting lodge, around here. But this people's homes, that's what they're living in.
I want to say there were 700 people in the village. A normal family, there's probably 8. I would say the average family. But I met a guy with 23 kids. 25 kids, 2 were adopted.
First thing I noticed was the runway being gravel as we were coming down. So that was one of the first things that I noticed coming in, definitely, was the runway.
Seeing it for the first time, like we are here, and I was so excited to just get off the plane and just to go and greet the first person in the village. I'm instantly seeing the village. I was like, man, like, it's now. Time starts now for all of us.
Flying into the village, I was just kind of like almost blown away that a village could be this far out in the middle of nowhere. Because there's nothing for hundreds and hundreds of miles, and then boom, there's just a small little village. All the buildings are different colors. So it was really cool to actually like fly in and see. It was like almost like a painting. So our initial mission was to go help build a church for the people in Scammon Bay. But our secondary mission was just to show love and stuff to the people there in the community.
My goal was to go and serve, and I feel like as a Christian, that is what everyone's purpose is.
Well, we were the second to the last team in, so we pretty much did some of the punch list that was to be done, which I caulked the windows for 2.5 days.
Me, Ben, and TJ were anything to do with the roof, we were put on the roof. So we were the roof crew.
We put up snow guard. Me, Ben, and John. That was the first project that we were assigned. So that was the very first thing that we did. And then one of the things that I did, I had to cut in the furnace, the pipe for the furnace, or their wood stove, I guess, through the ceiling and through the roof. And oh my, that was a task. It was they have some spray foam out there, and I guess they use it in Alaska because of the extreme conditions. So it's spray foam, it sprays down, and it grows and hardens, and that stuff was about a 1.5 foot thick, and I had a 12-inch Sawzall blade, and it wouldn't even go through the whole roof or the whole ceiling and the insulation. So I was like, okay, I cut a big hole with the Sawzall, and I was trying to like pull it out, and I was like trying to punch it through because I didn't know how deep it was, and I mean it was like concrete and it was not moving. So I go and ask Russ, I was like, you know how deep it is? And he was like, I was like, do you think I could punch through it? Because I couldn't. And he was like, no. He was like, when that stuff hardens, it's like concrete. He was like, you can walk on it, you can jump on it. He was like, it's not gonna move.
Oh, We did painting. We put sealer on like countertops. We sanded. I sanded a wood stove and painted it, and got it ready for inside the church. Just also made just little things, you know.
Oh, me and Ben actually, they had a cross that was hung on the side of the church, but it wasn't lit up or nothing. Didn't have no lights, and so Ben and myself put lights on that cross and went out there and hung it up. And man, it was so cool to see it after that.
They told us to go around the community and see who needed help. And there was a widow that got hit by a typhoon the week before, and her roof kind of caved in on one of her balcony sides.
And that was just a moment where our leader, Russ from Samaritan's Purse, was able to say, find out what her situation was and say, you know what, we're going to get the materials for you. And we actually got it, and a couple of the guys went over there and had it installed that day. So we were able to bless her. And then there was another guy, Tony, that stayed with us for the whole project. He was there 17 weeks, and we were able to do a lot of things on his house that needed work, really without them asking. So it's just an extra blessing on top of working on the church to be out in the community.
At night usually, between 6 and 7, whenever we finished dinner and finished work and stuff, we would go out and play, they called it lap ball, or lap game with the kids. And it was essentially just cricket, but you threw the ball, they hit it, and then you ran a lap to one side and ran to the other. We tried playing with them. There were just so many kids, and I guess they were so excited to see us. The game didn't really go the way it was intended to go. It was mainly kids all around us talking, and then some of the kids playing, and then us trying to play, but not being able to because we're surrounded by all the kids that just want to talk and hang out with us. So.
Russ, and it wasn't Russ, it was, I forgot the gentleman's name, but he said, who wants to build the pulpit? 2 weeks earlier, I was in West Virginia at a church that I grew up in, and the pulpit was there that my dad had built, 40 plus years ago. And I was actually had my hand on, I have a picture of it with my hand on the pulpit. And he says, just whatever design that you want. He says, if you want to build the pulpit, he said, just look something up on the internet. And I says, well, I just happen to have one here. So I pulled my phone out, had a picture of the pulpit, and he said, perfect. So I took that design and went out and started looking at the wood that was available and started building the pulpit. Oh, there was a lot of times while I was building the pulpit. So this is when Jed walked by and asked me, he says, well, you're building the pulpit. I guess that means you're going to have to bring the first message to it for us. And I just laughed and I says, well, we'll see. I says, I'm not going to say no, never going to say never. And, I kept building the pulpit, and it was an every day it was felt like the Spirit was there with me. I would wake up in the morning. My job was to wake up, make the coffee. I would always have the coffee ready for everybody. So when they woke up, everybody would have their coffee and we could talk. But I would get up, make the coffee. I'd do my morning devotion, usually spend at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours by myself praying and just, reading the Bible. And, then as when Jed made the comment about me bringing the message, it really made me start praying. God, is this what you brought me here for? And probably about Wednesday, he had came by and made another comment about, he was like, can't wait to hear the message or something along that line. And again, I woke up praying, God, is this what you brought me here for? And I think it was Friday morning when I woke up, and I prayed. I was praying, and I said, God, if one more person asks me, I know why you sent me. So that afternoon, as we were having lunch, and Russ is just a super calm. He said, is somebody in this room, I feel like somebody in this room is being led to bring our message Sunday. And I knew at that moment while I was there. So it was really, it was amazing. It really was. It answered a lot of questions for me. God is the gardener, Jesus is the vine, and we are the branches. And, we're to bear the fruit. And if we're not bearing the right fruit that Jesus wants us to bear, then really we're all just good for firewood. And I remember saying specifically, I don't want anybody to burn.
We walked around looking at the village and everything, and there you seen the cross, and it was up on the hill, and I mean, probably a half a mile at least up there. And it was one of the things we wanted to do. We wanted to make that journey to the cross.
It was a challenge to get to the cross, but you stop and think about it. Living a Christian life is a challenge, and so our goal is to make the cross. But hearing the story behind the cross and how it originated was very touching. And
so that cross has actually a really cool story behind it. So about 50 to 60 years ago, a Russian ship crashed near Scammon Bay, and it was right before winter, so it would be months before they could leave, even if they got the ship repaired in time. But the Eskimo people took them in, and they didn't know Russian. The Russians didn't know English or Yupik, so they basically played charades for 6 months, all through the winter, while they fed them and took care of them and helped them repair their ship. And then once they got the ship repaired, the Russians left. And a couple months later, they came back with the broken parts of their ship, and they built that cross on top of the mountain that looked over all of Scammon Bay. And I just found that really interesting and cool, because even across the world in Russia, that cross still represents love, peace, kindness to all the people of the land.
And then another time at the cross, it was just, we got up there and I played a song, we played Gratitude, but even with the song playing, it was just, it seemed like everything was just still, quiet, and, the presence was so strong there, and, it's hard to remember exactly what words were spoken, but we went around and each prayed, and I think our prayers definitely was not so much what we came up with in that moment. I think it was something the Lord was definitely speaking to us all when we were praying.
I know with Russ, he was one of the guys in charge, we talked about, going the extra mile, and that hit there while I was there. It's like, we're going to do this. Hey, we're going to go the extra mile, and we're going to do a little more. And that's so true. And already with being back, him and a friend, we did a little job for a lady, and we're going back on Friday to go the extra mile. So the extra mile is what I took on.
I feel like God's been talking to me for a long time. I feel like the trip was my confirmation for what God has in store for me, and I still really don't know what God has in store for me. He speaks to me a lot about doors are getting ready to open for me, and I'm just waiting one more confirmation from Him. So I know when He opens the door and I walk through it, I know that I'll have confirmation on what my will or what His will is for me. Oh man, there's the whole trip, just being with us 8 guys that went. I feel like there was a bond that it would be hard, I feel like, to top the bond that we have created with each other.
Since I've been back, one of my prayers was for God to give me the words to describe the way that trip made me feel, and I still I mean, I cannot come up with the words. The feeling that it gives you to go in and help people like that is just incredible.
One thing I will take back too is just the joy that they had. It wasn't anything that had been bought or anything material that they had, but they just had this joy and this genuine happiness for life and just being there and community that sometimes I take for granted. So
It's just crazy, when you trust in God and, follow Him, you don't know what He has in store at all. To step out and to trust Him, He's going to take you places and He's going to definitely show Himself to you. And that's something I can't wait to go back and do wherever it is. Like I said, being on the cross was just, it's hard to even explain, but I can't wait to be in His presence like that again, whenever and wherever it is.